But the actual skill set that I even talk to my clients, and everyone is looking for people who are accustomed to the digital skill sets, the technical and digital skill sets. That do they understand, and they are very specific about their requirements. That have they worked on this ERP? Have they worked on this WMS? So what is the environment that they are working on? Because right now, the companies do not have the time to teach anymore. Right? You need to be plug and play kind of a model right now for employees as well. Those days were gone, Jamil, when you and I were, young, and we were given, you have 6 months to prove yourself. No, you do not even have 1 day to prove yourself. You need to deliver from day one. And I tell this to people, you do not need to go for fancy courses. You have Udemy, you have LinkedIn learning centers, you have, so many other things available as an, material for learning. You can go for that. Understand what Power BI, for example, is. Because reporting in Excel is something of the past right now. All the international certifications, you name it, and they are free for the Saudis. So just imagine young lads, girls and boys, they are young and they already have the APEX certification, they have the CPIM, they have the CILT, you name it, they have it. So that is there. So this is what I'm saying. For the fresher expat, the jobs are there, but it's difficult. The market is for experienced people who are bringing something extraordinary to the table. And the point is that companies will bring you on board. If you do not deliver, they will spit you out as well very quickly. So it's a very, very cutthroat market right now.
Hello and welcome to another podcast on my channel. And today I've got a very special guest who is an expert on supply chain in the Middle East region. He is the founder and CEO of Supply Chain Talks and is also running a number of other companies and is a great resource to speak to when it comes to supply chain, skills, talent development, and so on. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Noman Ali on my podcast. Hello, Noman. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm doing well, Jamil. Thank you for the kind introduction. I would not say that I consider myself still a student in supply chain. So I'm learning as I go.
Excellent. I think that's very humble of you, Roman. So maybe, that might be a good starting point. Let me ask you if you can just walk my audience through a little bit of your career journey. How did you start? How did you end up in supply chain? And what are you doing right now?
Sure, definitely. So first of all, a big welcome to all your audience. I see, mashallah, that you have almost you're touching 10K on your YouTube subscribers. So I wish you all the best to touch that milestone very soon. Hopefully with this podcast you are able to do that. Coming to my journey, I'm an engineer by academia, and then I did my MBA from Institute of Business Administration in Pakistan. So originally from Pakistan, living now in Saudi Arabia, based completely out of Saudi Arabia, now Jeddah. My career started as a pure hardcore engineer in a software engineering house. But somehow one thing or the other led me into the world of supply chain, where I went to give an interview to Aventis, now known as Sanofi, for the position of instrumentation engineer. But the interviewers thought that I'm more suited for the world of supply chain. They saw something in me, and here I am. And 23 years forward, now I'm running my own consultancy. So my career has been working. I started off as a planner in supply chain, learned the trades, moved up, and then went into logistics, customer service, warehousing, procurement. So I have done every vertical in supply chain I've handled, and I've handled the whole of supply chain as well for some really big names as supply chain head, fine for Courts PLC, for Sherwin-Williams in USA and Canada is pretty well known in the paints and chemicals. So for them, for Sandoz Pharma, then I worked in Oman. So I've worked in Pakistan, Oman, and Saudi. So, and 5 years back, or 6 years back to be exact, I decided to say goodbye to the corporate life, to the 9 to 5, and I decided to delve into a 24/7 career. And ever since I've been doing my own thing. So Supply Chain Talks is a consultancy that I formed in supply chain talks, we work in this traditional consultancy, operational excellence consultancy, advisory roles. Then we have training and development. Then we work in headhunting and recruitment. That is where most of your audience would be interested in. That we look into supply chain roles for a lot of clients here in Saudi Arabia. Then we have digital transformation. Then we have robotics, automation as well as a fifth vertical. And six is something that we do as a tech startup known as Invex in sustainability. Again, around supply chain. So this is a very quick and short introduction.
Excellent. No, I think you have done a lot of great work and in a lot of different verticals in a rather short span of time, which is amazing, Noman. So maybe because you mentioned recruitment, you talked about talent, which is really the core of the kind of content I create. Let me start you with my first question there, which is based on your extensive experience in supply chain in the Middle East. Where do you see the biggest skill gaps today?
See, the biggest skill gaps that I can see, right? So let me put it this way, that supply chain and the world has moved on from the traditional roles in supply chain. So, and when I look around myself, when I look at what academics are being taught, the traditional, the bachelor's program and these things, they are more focused on the traditional supply chain. They are still teaching the books which were probably written 20 years back. Fine. So they are not there. They do not understand what the world is looking for right now. So having said that, so basically, from my perspective, there is a significant gap in strategic thinking and data-driven decision making when it comes to supply chain. Many professionals in this area, in this supply chain landscape, are still caught up in the traditional operations because that is what they were taught. And that is what most of the organizations are still caught up in the traditional storekeeper, purchaser, buyer, these kind of people, order booker, and they lack the exposure to analytics to understand what data can do for them. They lack the understanding of what automation can bring about. And I'm not talking about investing millions. I'm talking about even automation through, communication through WhatsApp as well. For me, that is a very basic level of automation, communication and transparency and, connectivity and supply chain finance. Supply chain professions, I don't know why you need to understand numbers. If you're looking at inventories, if you're looking at assets, supply chain finance, what your decisions impact. So these are the skill sets that, from my perspective, are very important. And this is why, we try at SCT, we try to bridge this gap to basically bring in the ability to align supply chain decisions with overall business objectives. And this is what we preach, this is what we tell, and we do this a lot through our training programs as well for our clients. So we try to design trainings so that we can upskill, work with the traditional, but take them to the next level of how you need to think forward. So that would be my quick response on that.
Great. No, I think you have covered some good skills, and I would like to go a little bit deeper into some of those, Noman. But let me ask you one question. And one of the interesting things I was noticing while you were introducing yourself is, I think what I was saying is that just like you went and applied for an instrumentation job and got into supply chain, I applied for a plant job in Procter and Gamble's hub plant back then, where they used to manufacture bar soap. And they interviewed me for
a hub plant, then sorry, I'm cutting because I like this podcast and sessions to be very candid.
Yeah, that's fine.
That is how I. Then you would be knowing our dear friend Waqar Sheikh as well from the hub plant.
Waqar Sheikh. No, so here is my story, right? So I never worked in the plant. I interviewed for a job there. The guy who interviewed me was Wali Khan at the time. He was running customer service.
Our mutual friend.
Yes. So then, after they did the interview, Wali came back to me and said that, we don't have a job for you at the plant, but we have got this job called supply planning manager. And I had no clue what supply planning meant at the time, right? And they said that, don't worry, we will teach you. And, P&G, like we train people from bottom up. So that's how I got into supply chain. One question I wanted to ask you, Noman, in this one, because what you mentioned is very interesting for me. Back like 25 years ago, supply chain was not even taught as a formal subject. Now, universities are offering bachelor's programs, master's program in this. Yet you are saying that what they are teaching is kind of out of sync because the world of supply chain is evolving so fast. Why do you think the institutions or the academia has missed the mark on this one?
Good question. See, not all of them have missed the mark. See, I am very sure that what I was talking about is more of my experience connecting and interacting with the universities in Pakistan. Fine, with my alma maters as well, and I try to talk to them that how we need to bring in the professionals to coach the students. What is being done right now is that the people who are teaching supply chain is an operations course. It's not like engineering, it's not like finance, it's not like that. Yeah, a lot of things, Jamil, a lot of things that you read in the books and what you have learned in the books and case studies, you need to be flexible and agile about those things, and build up a new solution based on the parameters or the scenarios that you are faced up. Every day in supply chain is a challenge right now. Just an hour back I was talking to a friend of mine. He owns a transport company in Jeddah, and we were talking about the new, one crisis after the other. There's a new crisis in the Middle East. We are not done with one, then there's a new one. So we are now just trying to understand what the new one will have the implications, and we are trying to figure that out. So coming back to your question, that in academia you have the PhDs, you have the people, and the ones that have interacted, they have not actually worked in supply chain. They know supply chain, but they have not worked in supply chain. They have not spent the years, they have not actually done, they have not lifted up a carton in a warehouse and made a delivery to a customer and understand what customer satisfaction actually means. They do not understand that what a lead time, a 1 day impact in a lead time, or one shipment getting stuck in demurrage, or what will have its impact on your OTIF numbers. They would not understand this, and this is why I say that there is a disconnect in that. And the best way is that people like us, what you are doing, what I try to do through my supply chain YouTube channel and podcast, is that to try to do such sessions like we are doing right now and upskill the people who are listening it, to let them know what the market is looking for, what they are doing. So at the end of the day, again, data mining, data crunching, data analytics is the thing to go. Understanding what automation is. And I give this example very frequently. I was called in by a client of mine, and they said, we need robotics in the warehouse. Beautiful. You are thinking futuristic, you need robotics. When I went there, they did not even have a WMS, and they are talking about robotics.
I know, no, I totally get you. And this is the other challenge, right? Like, a lot of people want to do nice and fancy things in the companies, but at the end of the day, the ROI model should work. And one very easy analogy I give to people, even in my own company, is that look at the example of Concorde. Concorde was the most beautiful thing in aviation. It was built in the 1950s, like it was designed in the 50s. It was way ahead of its time. Why did it fail? Because the economics never made sense on that aircraft, right? So that's the best example, especially when, and you just last week, Noman, I was at a conference in Florida. Lots of cool stuff, right? And some things are really very impactful. What's happening in the world of, let's say, parcel picking, from all the way from robotic arms to AGVs to everything. I mean, sure, you know this better than I do. But then at the end of the day, when they are selling those products, and my reaction is that, okay, it has to make the economies of scale have to make sense. I mean, I can't just go and tell my GM that, hey, I want to have a robot in my warehouse. That's a very cool concept. But he's going to ask me, okay, what is the return on investment, right? So that's the key point.
So true. And that is true. And, you were talking about Concorde. I give two other examples, fine. And this is where you need to be there with the market trends, what the market needs. And the classic example for that are two, Nokia and Kodak. They were the iconic, they were the one who built the technologies fine, and they are not there anymore. So, and this is what I'm saying, that when you talk about resources, fine, people are resources and they need to turn into assets, fine, human assets management. So when we talk about even HR, it used to be people management, or simple, how would I put it, admin department. Then it became human resource, and became people management, and then I would say it needs to be people and asset management, because employees are assets to the company, and you will only be a viable asset till the time that you bring something to the table. What is your value add to your organization, to your department, to the success and the profit of the company?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, one thing, Noman, of course, you mentioned about crisis, and I mean, you mentioned that in the context of the Middle East, but I think like this decade is turning out to be a very cursed decade, right? It started with COVID, then there was the Ukraine war, now there is war happening in the Middle East. Like, who knows what is next? There's tariffs going in the middle of all this, right?
Yes.
So it's just a jinx decade overall. Tell me one thing, Noman, like because you are also very closely associated to the world of recruitment. How have the like what when companies in the Middle East are recruiting now, and when this backdrop, what are the changes in the way the skills are being looked at, especially with supply chain professionals? What are some of the recruiters looking at more, which they were not looking at, like maybe 5 years ago? So how is that whole landscape changing?
See, good question. So, see, you will find the traditional skill set people all around, and they are dime a dozen, you know. But the actual skill sets that I even talk to my clients, and everyone is looking for people who are accustomed to the digital skill sets, the technical and the digital skill sets. That do they understand, and they are very specific about their requirements. That have they worked on this ERP? Have they worked on this WMS? So what is the environment that they are working on? Because right now the companies do not have the time to teach anymore.
Hmm.
Fine, you need to be plug and play kind of a model right now for employees as well. Those days were gone, Jamil, when you and I were, young, and we were given, yeah, you have 6 months to prove yourself. No, you
Yeah.
do not even have one day to prove you need to deliver from day one. Fine. So, and this is where, unless until you bring something to the table, you are not a good resource for the organization. Then you will end up in your traditional companies, in the traditional roles. At the end of the day, why do we work? We work to grow. We work to earn. So if the way to earn better dollar, or better, or let me say net income, that is the only way that you are upskilled. Find what sets you apart, and digital and technical, and I tell this to people, you do not need to go for fancy courses. You have Udemy, you have LinkedIn learning centers, you have, so many other things available as an, material for learning. You can go for that. Understand what Power BI, for example, is, because reporting in Excel is something of the past right now. You need to work with Power BI and similar tools. I'm not saying that Power BI is the only tool available, but there are others. What do you understand by WMS, TMS, OMS, ERP solutions and systems, how it can help you? So these are the technical and the digital skill sets are very important nowadays. And the point is that companies will bring you on board. If you do not deliver, they will spit you out as well very quickly.
Hmm.
So it's a
Very true.
very, very cutthroat market right now.
Right. What would your advice be, Noman? And let's stick to this point for a second, right? Because you mentioned, ERPs, WMS, OMSs, and so on. Of course, when we think about ERP, SAP is probably like the biggest base market, right? But how is that changing? Because I know there's a lot of companies. The big companies are right. Everybody's busy moving to S4 HANA because, of course, there are a lot of advantages of that platform versus other. But when I, think about like supply chain, it's not just about ERP, right? It's about the overall ecosystem. What is your WMS? Are you working on Manhattan or Blue Yonder, whatever, right? And then another, I think, because my comment might be really biased because I've like grown really in supply chain in the world of planning. One of the most underestimated systems is APS, right? So are you working
Yep.
on Blue Yonder, SAP, APO, or whatever, right? And now you've got all these newer ones coming up, O9, OMP. They are also trying to like get a market. What would your advice be? Because one of the biggest challenges with these systems and building technical skills, and there's something which I also mentioned with Arsalan when I was doing a podcast recently with him, because avenues for people to upskill are not that easy. Power BI, yes, I understand. I can go take a course on Udemy. Maybe I can get a free license somehow. That's the easy stuff. But if I want to know, okay, how do I upskill myself on several modules of Blue Yonder? There is not like a cheaper, easier solution. What would your advice be on this one?
Okay, good question. So I like the cheaper, easier solution. Fine. So see, I will be up straight. I am a partner to Blue Yonder in this region, by the way.
Okay, excellent.
Fine. So I will not say anything bad about them. They are amazing people. Just a couple of days back, I was with the global sales head for the retail business. It was his first trip to Saudi Arabia, so we were having lunch together, and I told him that, and he liked my comment that for me, Blue Yonder is the ERP of the SCM world. Fine. So when you talk about SAP HANA, Oracle, Dynamics, these are financial systems. Fine.
Correct.
And even when we talk about the OTS, the Oracle or the IBP from SAP and the EWMS and these things, these are built for a certain environment and they lack the flexibility. I might be biased against them, but this is what I believe in, that they are not built for the agile supply chains. They are built for structured supply chain that you have your own warehouses and orders coming in and going out. But as soon as you move into an agile structure where you're doing last mile, where you're doing e-commerce, you're doing, retail outlets, institutions, a lot of different channels that you are managing, and you have your own warehouse, you have your DCs, you have your 3PL partners. Now, suddenly these traditional solutions start showing their limitations. Fine. And I'm using the word carefully, limitation, because they are not bad, but they were not built or they are not there for the agile supply chain to support that. And this is where this is what I tell you, this is where companies need to come to consultants like us who have gone through, who understand different solutions. Fine. It's not about that I will only recommend Blue Yonder. Find a company who's coming who does not even have the scale of Blue Yonder. Even Blue Yonder will not pick up their call. There has to be a certain annual turnover. You mentioned O9. O9 only talks to companies, for example, who have an annual turnover at least touching $1 billion. This is how they place themselves. Similar to Blue Yonder. Then there's Planet Together. There is Slim Stock, Streamline, Relax is there. There are so many planning solutions alone out there that it depends which industry you are. There are planning solutions which are excellent for the spare part industry. There are planning solutions which are excellent for the retail industry with the planogram and everything. Then there are solutions which are production and resource planning. But unfortunately, people only know about SAP because this is what they know. And this is where we as consultants come into play, that we try to educate. We do not try to, I do not sell my services. Fine. I educate people that this is the solution. I can connect them to my partners, and you evaluate them, you understand them, and they need to showcase their capability. Does it fulfill your requirements or not? From capability perspective, cost perspective, value perspective, all three has to be plugged in. So again, so this needs to be there, right?
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah, and I think the piece around really having a knowledge of what are the right systems to have knowledge on, what is an order management system, what is a WMS system is very important. Now, there is one very common question I get, Oman, and I'm just going to shift gears from the technology piece in a second here, which is I get a lot of messages. Almost I get at least 5 a day from people outside the Middle East, especially in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on, who are fresh graduates. They have done some certifications in supply chain, and they want to come to the Middle East. And my default advice, first of all, to those people is that, hey, Middle East is not a market for fresh graduates. I mean, it's a good market for fresh graduates if you are a Saudi or if you are an Emirati, because of course
Correct.
that's your home base. But if you are coming from another region and you are coming in as an expatriate, right? This is not the market to go and get an entry level job on. Build your skill set, define what is your technical base, and based on that, maybe in 3 4 years, your job takes you to a direction where you maybe become an ERP expert, or you become a planning expert, and then you can pitch yourself. Would you, first of all, first part of my question, do you agree with that? And if yes or no, what are your additional comments to this?
Okay, so I agree to that 100% without doubt. See, at the end of the day, and I will just take the example of Saudi Arabia right now and supply chain. Uh, l- by default, the expats or the non-Saudis are at a disadvantage when it comes to supply chain jobs because and this is a beautiful thing that the Saudi government has done for their own people, in the sense that all the international certifications, you name it, and they are free for the Saudis. They are
Wow.
funded by the government, 100%. And how it is done is very simple. They do not pay the bills. Fine. The system is very straightforward, beautiful. That if you are a Saudi and you want to do, for example, CPIM level 1, fine. You go register, you do the course, so you pay for yourself first. Fine.
Mhm.
You pay for it, you learn it, you give the test, you achieve the certification. You take that certification, take the bills. There's a website of Human Resource Development Fund under the Ministry of Labor, HRDF, and you submit everything. They will review it, they will approve it, and they will refund every dollar or the real value that you have spent on it, and you will get the reimbursement.
Wow, it's amazing.
So just imagine young lads, girls, and boys. They are young and they already have the APIC certification. They have the CPIM. They have the CILT. You name it, they have it.
Excellent.
Fine. So for me as an employer, first of all, I would like to hire people on whom I do not need to spend on training, because I get reimbursed by the government by default. See,
Of course.
fine. Secondly, they also have the apprenticeship or training programs in which the government pays for the internship for the Saudis. So the company doesn't need to pay for 3 months or 6 months, 6 weeks or whatever. Fine. So that is there. So this is what I'm saying. For the fresher expat, the jobs are there, but it's difficult. There's a lot of entry to barriers. And
Absolutely.
you are right. The market is for experienced people who are bringing something extraordinary to the table. Fine. And that is where you are able to negotiate better pay scales, better allowances, and different things. The whole works. And having said that, just imagine if you join as a fresher and you do not have anything to sell them. Fine. You join at a very low income because you're just trying to get out of your country. And unfortunately, this is what the scenario is in Pakistan, if we talk about it right now. Fine.
Exactly. And those
Most of
people, I think, probably end up staying in that very lower cadre for a very, very long time because they
the
never get promoted.
Just imagine they will. I know people who are accepting jobs in Saudi Arabia for 4,000, 5,000 riyal.
Wow. Okay.
Fine, just to exit. Fine, so that is the whole scenario. So definitely yes, Saudi market is more for the experience, and you are able to negotiate a better net value for yourself if you are experienced.
Got it. And then also help me define, Noman, like what is the extraordinary even for a slightly more experienced professionals, right? Because so here is a classical situation now, because all this amazing investment the Saudi government is doing on their local people, which is fantastic. And now, the awareness around supply chain is also increasing. So I'm sure a lot of Saudi local talent is getting those certifications as well. So if someone from outside the region wants to target that market and it's a supply chain professional, what is that extraordinary skill that you will? Is it robotics? Is it high end automation in supply chain, or is it just having in depth knowledge of an ERP or an OMS?
In-depth knowledge of or the experience that you bring. See, I have been saying this. What do you bring to the table? Fine.
Hmm.
What is the different experience? For example, Jamil, if you target the Saudi market, for example, if I take your example, you are bringing. If I look at your LinkedIn, your resume on the LinkedIn, right? Your LinkedIn is your resume at the end of the day.
Yep.
I see Procter and Gamble, how you have risen in the Procter and Gamble world. Then you move to Mars. Then you rose in different functions, both horizontally and vertically as well. So you carry with yourself a certain skill set and an experience across multiple verticals, multiple functions. So you bring something valuable to the table. You are not someone that someone needs to teach, but you are someone who will come and teach them and will just carry on and improve things.
Right.
Right? So this is the skill set that the employers and the leaders over here are looking for people, not just in expats, in Saudis as well. The market for Saudis is also very cutthroat right now. There is a lot of supply, and the demand is still, demand is being built up, but the supply has just increased with such a lot of young talent. And in supply chain, if I tell you, and my daughter is going to university this year right now. And just today, she just messaged that she will be doing in supply chain, her bachelor's in Saudi.
Oh, wow.
Right? Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. Thank you.
I hope you did not influence her thinking. So
I did. It took me 1 year. Right? But having said that, the point is that there are so many programs that even I got shocked when I started researching that which universities offer supply chain in the bachelor's program. Almost every university in Saudi Arabia has a supply chain program right now.
wow.
Some of them have dedicated supply chain, actual bachelor's in supply chain and operations management. Some of them have a BPA with electives in supply chain.
Wow. Amazing.
So just imagine that the amount of supply chain young links which are graduating the Saudi fresh mind. I recently met one girl, right, fresh graduate, and I was talking to her, and she said, I do not want to work in an office. I want to work in a warehouse.
Wow. This is a
A Saudi
Saudi girl.
girl wants to
Wow.
work in a warehouse. Yes.
Amazing.
And I can show you over here forklift Saudi girls who are driving forklifts in their houses as well.
Amazing.
So the perception of the outside world about Saudi Arabia is completely flawed or limited. The world within Saudi Arabia is a different ballgame right now. The kind of these kids, they are challenging everyone. They are hungry for work. They are hungry to prove themselves, and they want to grow. So the young talent, the Saudi young talent, is something to be really taken serious about, and they are bringing a lot to the table.
No, this is fantastic, and for any country's development, I think this is the most important thing, that how
Very
much they
important.
invest in their young talent, and then how much they are able to retain that talent. So because I mean, we both come from Pakistan, and we keep hearing about the complaint on talent flight and brain drain and all that. So I think the government is doing some amazing work there, which for the
Jameen,
longest period of
you
time they
and
did not
I
have this.
are two examples. Sorry, I'm cutting you. You and I are two examples of brain drain.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. One in Saudi, one in Canada. That's absolutely true.
Exactly.
So this is fantastic, and just I know for the longest period of time, Noman, like the Saudi supply chain industry, of course, because of the oil wells, so there was a lot of oil and gas jobs in certain parts of the country and the region, and then there was this rise of consumer products as consumers became more wealthy and so on, and therefore companies like Procter and Unilever did really well. um where where is this going? So I mean, we keep hearing a lot about sustainability as well, but then at the same time there's a lot of construction happening, new cities are being built. When you think about industry verticals, right, where is going to be the growth in the next 5 years? And please answer my question not only in the Saudi context, Noman, but also in the wider Middle East context, like Dubai and some of the other places?
See, the growth that I see in Saudi Arabia right now, see, if I look at purely on the Vision 2030, and because that is what is driving Saudi Arabia right now. So logistics, next 5 years, because 2030 still is 5 years away for that targets to be there. So logistics is definitely one of the strongest area. Then you have tourism, which is a very strong area in Saudi Arabia. Then you have the construction or the infrastructure development that is there. You have FIFA coming in. FIFA is there. So how many in just Riyadh? If I remember the correct number, in Riyadh alone, in one city, there will be 8 stadiums.
Wow.
So just to look at it, to just imagine what, and then you have the expo which is coming in over here as well. Then you have a lot of things. Very soon you will be hearing that Olympics will be in Saudi Arabia as well. So the point is that the cultural, the tourism, the sports industry is growing very quickly. And with that, everything grows. The infrastructure, the logistics, the consumer market, everything. These industries, they drive the growth of all the other markets. Fine. So, and with this skill set, you need a lot of people differently. And in the coming years, right now, even if I see at 2025, a lot of push is happening, a lot of things are happening, announcements, big announcements are coming in. Even though with all the turmoil or the chaos which is happening around, there's still a lot of development and aggressive development which is happening.
Interesting. So and it looks like from like construction industry is a classical client of the supply chain world, right? Especially in the logistics space, because when you are building stadiums, you are transporting a lot of
containers. Move everything.
Exactly.
You need to move the world for them.
Absolutely. So as we come towards my final few questions on this one, Noman, I think because now we have got this pretty big pool of local Saudi Emirati talent as well. Tell me, what would your advice be to those people? Because I'm going to ask you two separate questions. What is your advice for the young talent who is Saudi Emirati and other nationalities in the region, if they want to grow a career in supply chain? And then give me the same advice for expatriates trying to target jobs in that part of the world.
Sure. See, if I talk about the young talent, the local talent, fine. So for me, I would say that they need to future-proof themselves, that they need to understand what the skills are needed in the next 5 years, and they need to start building on those skills from today. Power BI used to be a specialized subject. Now it's a job requirement. I'm saying that, do you understand Power BI? Do you understand reporting? Do you understand dashboard? Fine. You need to be technically and digitally skilled. Fine. Do you understand these different ERP tools or these different supply chain digital tools or not? But this is the technical side. On the other side as well, another thing which is very important for supply chain professionals, and that is the soft skills which is needed for people, and not just for the young professionals, for us as well. And it takes us a lot of time to develop these soft skills, especially when we talk about, for example, emotional intelligence. Fine. How can you navigate with the stress, with difficult and dire situation? How can you keep your emotions intact? At the end of the day, we are human beings. Fine. And supply chain all the time is a stressful job. It's a very stressful job. Chaos is happening all around. Anything that can go wrong does go wrong. And you need to have plan B, you need to have plan C, you need to have plan D's. Fine, for everything. So that is need to be there. You need to be a strong negotiator. And when I say negotiating, it's not just about trying to find a discount. Fine. When I talk about negotiation, and this is I do in my training as well. For me, negotiation is finding that sweet spot, the win-win scenarios. It doesn't need to be a zero-sum game. Fine. It can always be a 1 + 1 is equal to 11 as well. Not even 2. It's about that you find that win-win scenario where you can synergize with your partners as well. So that is there, and at the end of the day, you need to be very good in communication. You need to be transparent about it as well. So better the communication within the supply chain structure, or at any level, junior, medium, senior, the better you will be able to manage your supply chains at the end of the day. If you're open and honest with your supplier, believe me, when you're down, they will be the first one to come and pick you up.
It's true.
Fine. So threatening, or that I will put a fine on you, you were delayed and everything, these do not work. Fine. They might work on the short term, but we all know that once we are rigid with our partners, they eventually move away from us as well.
Absolutely, they do. And how do you think, Noman, how do you think AI is shaping this whole conversation around skill development? Like one very simple um, example, or something which I'm trying to also build my skills on is, and I know Copilot on Microsoft is still not really there, because it came with a lot of promises. I saw some videos about 6 months ago that, hey, you'll write a prompt in Copilot and it's going to build out a very fancy pivot table for you. It's not there yet, but I'm sure there are
Yeah.
very smart engineers working in Microsoft and in other companies to master that. And at some point in time, even in interviews, I can foresee maybe in the next 5 years, you might not be asking questions about, do you know how to build a pivot table, but you might be asking some prompt writing questions. But that's maybe just one very simple and like scratching the surface kind of a question, right? How do you think in the supply chain context, AI is changing the needs of skill requirement? Because there is a lot of fear as well, right? I keep hearing every now and then, I get a message on WhatsApp or on like some of the other social media, hey, AI is coming to take on your jobs and all of that. But I really don't think it's like this. But what is your perspective on all of this?
Okay. You, talk about Copilot. Yes. So I'm a Microsoft user. So I have the access to Copilot as well. But then there's Gemini. Now you open your WhatsApp, there's an AI chat box in your WhatsApp as well. So everything has AI embedded right now. I'm a very strong user of ChatGPT, for example. Fine. And will AI replace? Yes, it will replace the non-productive job roles.
Right.
Fine. I'll give you an example. I use AI extensively, and I will be very open and honest about it. And when I'm doing talks and when I'm in conferences and everything, I remember 2 years back, right? ChatGPT was new. People were still adopting to it and everything. And I was in a conference, a panel speaker, right? And the moderator asked that how many of you use AI or ChatGPT? And I was amongst the very few who rose up their hands that I do. And then he asked me that, Numan, what do you do in AI? I said, to be very honest, only for this conference of panel discussion, it was the first time that I used AI, because the question that you sent, I just put it in ChatGPT and I asked him, give me the best answers for that. And the moderator started laughing and he said, Noman, I also got the questions from ChatGPT. And it helps that you are able to direct your good resources in areas where they are actually needed, and remove them from the non-productive part. Like I operate supply chain talks, right? If I need to manage my social media, you need to write LinkedIn posts, you need to write a lot of YouTube introduction and everything, a lot of things. I used to spend a lot of time. Now I don't. My chat GPT is very well trained to tell me the right things and what topics I'm working on. And I only ask chat GPT, this is what I'm about to post. This is it. Can you write a good thing? And it writes as Noman Ali, because it knows how I like to write. Because I uploaded a lot of it. Knows everything about supply chain talks. It knows everything about AdCons, for example. It knows everything about index. So I don't need to. Even my emails are a lot of them where I need support. If I need to send something to my clients, I basically ask ChatGPT to drop me an email, because these were non-productive tasks which now your AI can do, and now I can focus on productive areas. And this is where the world is moving as well. That And this is what I was, when we were discussing earlier, the skill sets needs to be there. You need to future proof yourself. Fine. So if you are still stuck in the old ways, then you will be replaced very soon. Fine. Nobody talks about. There was a time, Jameel, when you and I were fresh out of university, writing on our resume, Microsoft Office was a very sound skill set.
Yeah, true.
It is not now.
Yeah.
Fine. So this is why it needs to be there, that you need to continuously upskill yourself.
That is true.
And AI is a tool, as a support tool, that you should use to upskill yourself.
Totally agreed. And just like you said, even my content writing work has like simplified at least 50%, because I would do 70% of the writing through AI, and then I would add my 30%,
Fine-tuning.
because you have to
Exactly.
humanize the AI output. Otherwise, it can be a
110%.
double-edged sword. Yes.
You are 110% correct. And this is where a lot of companies, and this is where, when we talk about WMS, when we talk about TMS, at the end of the day, now these are all built in with the planning tools, the Slim Stocks and the Blue Yonders and the Relax and of the world. They're all AI based tools. But are they replacing humans? No, they are not. They are just supporting the human element. They are fine tuning your work, and they're improving your work. And at the end of the day, you need to be smart enough to understand how they operate, and you still need to manage the AI.
Absolutely.
We are still not in the phase where Terminator will be taking over, or that will happen. We are still not there.
I know. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And this is what I keep telling whenever I say, look at a fear mongering statement by somebody in like a social
Yeah.
gathering or something, that, oh, AI is coming for your job. And I said, no, I mean, let's be honest here. Now, my last question to you, Noman, and this is a question I ask every expert I invite, because, and hopefully someday I'm going to compile all those and maybe, make a specific video out of this. What is the one advice you would like to give your 25-year-old self? Imagine you went back in time, you just graduated, you're on your first job. What is the advice and experience Noman will give to a young Noman?
Okay. Good question. Do not worry about the future. It will pan out. All you need to do is ensure that you are honest and you are hardworking. Hurdles will always come in your way, and one way or the other, if you are honest, if you are hardworking, and if you are able to handle those smartly, those hurdles will eventually show you opportunities that you need to grab. See, where I am today, if I look back and I say I did a wrong decision, I am here because of those combination of wrong and right decisions. I'm standing over here. The experience of the bad decisions also has made me what I am today as well. Fine. The learnings from those bad decisions, it has made me what I am today. So, and this is what this morning I posted something on LinkedIn, that if your day off gives you anxiety about the next day, working day, then maybe you don't need a vacation, you need a new job. Fine. It was in good humor, because someone replied that if the new job is also giving you more anxiety, what will you do? See, but the point is that if your job is taking away your mental sanity and is giving you stress, then you need to step away. You need to take a deep breath, and things will fall in place automatically. Toxic environments are always there. Corporate world is 99% toxic. It's very rare that you will find a non-toxic environment. And I will not, even in the best of the best organization, toxicity is there. Fine. So you just need to believe in yourself. You need to stay humble, and you need to just ensure that what you're doing is honest and smart and hardworking.
Perfect.
Because
Excellent.
I have taken my share of tensions in my young days as well. Now I don't worry about things anymore. So
Perfect. Excellent. Yeah, and I think really want to underscore a point you mentioned, that we really, I think we learn the most from our mistakes, and instead of constantly like being guilty and cursing ourselves on the mistakes, I think we should think about, okay, what we have learned from this. And because I think that is where the biggest improvement curves come. Like, okay, what do I do differently so that I don't fall in the same trap again? And I think that's where I think there are always these visuals shared on LinkedIn all the time, right? You learn this much from theory, this much from books, but this much from mistakes. And that is why in anyone's career, regardless of supply chain, making mistakes is important, because that's where you learn the most. So uh,
See, let me just give you a small example over here. This was from my university days, right? Uh, it was a subject, a class exam was happening, and we had not prepared for it at all. Me and a few friends of mine, and we were sitting in the lecture hall at the back row. Fine, and we all had these books in our laps. Fine, and our professor, he was an old guy. His name was Dr. Karimov. Amazing person, one of the best professors that I ever had in my engineering school. And he was an old guy, so he could not always come up the stairs. This is why we were sitting at the back, because we had no idea how to answer the quiz and the exam. So we were cheating. Fine, in very plain words. So the TA, the teaching assistant, entered the lecture hall, and he simply saw us sitting in the back. He knew who we are, and he just came up there and he looked at us and he said, "Dr. Kareem, they have the books open." And the response that Dr. Karimov gave, at least they have the books open now.
I think that's a very good summary of that discussion. So
Exactly. See, he knew what we were doing, but he was content that at least now they are actually reading and trying to figure it out now.
no, that was a great story. Well, thanks a lot, Noman. I really appreciate your time. I think some of the advice you
Okay.
have given is going to be really instrumental in people trying to build their supply chain careers, especially in the Middle East region. And I think I know some of the advice you gave is not only limited to the Middle East region, but it's applicable to anybody in supply chain working around the world. Thanks a lot for your time,
My
and I
pleasure.
hope we are able to also invite you again on one of our future podcasts.
Definitely, it was an honor, Jamil. I have seen you grow. LinkedIn is a very good medium where you get to know people without getting to know them. And I've seen you, I've heard about you as well before this, and I've seen how your podcast have grown and how you are helping people. So it's a commendable job that you are doing. And I wish that I can do something similar of what you are doing as well. And let's stay connected. A big thank you for Jamil for considering me for your on your platform, for inviting me. It's definitely a great honor for me.
Likewise. Thanks a lot, Numan.
My pleasure. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Lam.